Everybody, and welcome to this week's Old School Q&A. Disappointed by the lack of P's and W's in the chat, but plenty of Q's. Thank you very much. Mod Gambit, how did that happen?
Apologies for that. Just I don't know what to say. I should have had the broadcast prepped a lot earlier. But,
It's all good.
I hope you guys are excited for some questions. We'll be asking them.
And we'll be answering them.
And answering them too.
Stay tuned for the answers next week.
We're bringing our A's, don't worry.
I think you'll be lucky to have two questions this way as well, to be honest.
Okay, so I'm your host, Mod Sween. I am joined by, let's go outside, Mod Kieran.
Hello.
Mod Flippy.
Hello.
Mod Gambit.
Hello.
And Mod Husky.
Yeah.
We've got Mod Shed running the stream and Mod Tide on the chat. So if you have any questions you'd like to ask, at Old School RS, and we'll ask them. It's Tuesday. That's weird. We usually do Q&As on Wednesday. So a lot of us are out of the office tomorrow, so we brought it forward today. Thank you very much for accommodating us. Apologies if you have to watch this on YouTube afterwards because you're busy on a Tuesday. Sorry.
It feels a long time since it was Thursday. It used to be Thursday.
It used to be Thursday, yeah. Oh, yeah. So we changed that initially because we wanted to kind of preview Thursday's game update.
Yeah.
Which we stopped doing anyway. Maybe we should bring that back.
We want to do more of that though. So.
We should definitely do more than that. We'll talk about what's going to happen this Thursday. Same thing's probably going to happen next week too. So set a reminder, next Tuesday Q&A, and then the week after that, normal service will be resumed on Wednesdays. The usual announcements I'll run through as we do at the start of every stream. The Nightmare of Ashley Harmer is the new boss coming with the Mauritania expansion we talked about at RuneFest.
There, that thing.
That thing.
It's not Mod Flippy.
With the tongues.
Although that would be great.
So we wanted to know what sort of rewards you liked from that you get in return for killing the Nightmare, that thing. If you still have ideas, send them to oldschoolcommunity@jagex.com. Deadline is this Friday, the 18th of October. But realistically, if your ideas are really good, we'll consider them after the 18th anyway. That'd be a weird deadline to have.
Also, thank you. There's been so many.
So many.
So
I think
!Nightmare for more information.
the best part for me has been just reading through some of them and just maybe not taking them as is, but getting inspiration. Like I'm like, oh, that's so cool. What if we did this? And
right.
I think it's a lot of fun to look through them all. The community's been great with that.
Mm. What else we got? The League reward poll. So we gave you more information about Twisted League. Reception to it has been awesome, actually. I think because we gave you more detail this time around, talked about the relics, the rules, tasks, seeing your buy-in's been great. We proposed some rewards that would affect. Well, initially you've got some rewards league to league. So how you perform in Twisted League will dictate the reward you get in the next league we do, but also any rewards that come into reward shop in the main game of Old School RuneScape. Hit !leagues for more information for the blog, and that poll goes live on Friday. This week's game update. What are we laughing at?
why do you all have t-shirts on your legs like blankets? We should have started with this.
I didn't want to. I wanted to. So in a short while, we're going to be selling out, doing some merch stuff. But we'll give you some more information first of all, ease you in, and then make you spend your money. This week's game update is Bounty Hunter. So the rework of the base of the rework goes live on Thursday. We'll cover that shortly. I've got some Bounty Hunter related questions, which I think hopefully Mod Gambit will be able to answer for us.
I'll try.
Good. So we can ask. And then we've got new merchandise. Lots of new stuff for you to spend your money on. In the table, you can see some mugs with skill icons. They look pretty cool. Lots of t-shirts on our laps and on the sides. All this stuff launched with RuneFest. Was initially on sale at RuneFest, and we've now made it public for you to buy. I'll hold some more up. How about getting some of Bob's brilliant
I don't want to
actors
lift
on
mine
the
up
t-shirt?
because I don't know if anyone's noticed, but mine actually looks like I'm just wearing jeans. But to anyone who's astute enough, I also have a shirt. This one's Catherby base, very nice.
They are actually really nice.
Maybe a bit hard to see.
They are actually really nice.
Yeah.
Exclamation mark merch to look at the really nice merchandise and to give us your money.
What?
Like they're actually the sort, like especially this sort of design. It's just Vorkef, but it's the sort of design that you're gonna be able to wear in public and not think I look like a nerd.
Exactly.
So because it just looks like a cool dragon. But anyone who knows, and it's
Someone will be like, "Cool dragon, bro," and someone else will give you a wink and be like, "I know Vorkaf."
Exactly.
On the announcements front, finally, I really want us to be in a regular habit of addressing the core issues, even if we don't have too much to song and dance about. So third-party clients, We published a statement just before RuneFest which outlined our intentions. I guess you could narrow it down to solve the issue of overpowered features and then talk about our own client. That statement raised a lot of questions, so we're working on a new statement. We're hoping to publish that this week, but it is dependent on internal feedback, and there are a lot of people giving feedback. So it might be a bit later, but we're hoping for this week. And we're just looking to offer a lot more clarity on individual features. We've been talking to you, the players, we've been talking to the people making the clients. So we're hoping this statement will answer any questions you've got. Anything else we want to say about that? I mean,
everyone from the team's been contributing to it, and so optimistic we're going to be able to provide a lot more clarity than we did in the past. So.
Account security. So we as a team have now seen the blog we've been talking about for some months now. There are a lot of internal stakeholders, but it is nearing time to be published. We're looking to release it as soon as possible is the answer. When it's ready, it will go out. It's going to tell you why it's taken so long. That's a big question you want answered, understandably. What they've been working on in that time, what they're going to be working on, and when you can expect to see stuff, new features, security features. What else? Death mechanics. I've seen lots of chatter about death mechanics. We've mentioned a few times now, I think probably once in the last 4 Q&As or so, what our plan is to do like opinion polls to talk about what priorities you consider to be your biggest priorities, whether it's death mechanics, drop tables, resource rebalancing, fixing specific old pieces of content like mini games. So we'll be looking to get that opinion poll survey out soon. Death mechanics will be included, and that's when we can revisit the conversation about death mechanics. We spoke about death mechanics in some sort of grave type system early 2018.
Yeah.
That got some pretty good feedback. We let that conversation die. We probably shouldn't have done, but we're ready to kind of bring it up again if you say that's a priority you want us to work on. Esports, Deadman, PvP, etc. Not much movement on it since the last time I spoke about it last week, I'm afraid. In terms of esports, you know what, we stopped Deadman because it had a lot of fundamental issues. We hired a head of esports to solve those issues. And rather than stumble from like poor event to poor event to poor event, unable to give it the time it needed, dev-wise and event-wise, we've decided to make a proper comprehensive 2020, 21, 22 strategy for a long-term cohesive esports plan. And I know it's frustrating for you having to wait, but it means that you'll have a very clear idea of what's going to come next. You can start preparing around it. So please be patient. I hate to say that because it's understandable that you're quite frustrated and having to wait, but we're working on it. PvP stuff generally, we are continuing discussions, building councils, talking what we're about to do polling-wise internally. So it's still an issue we're working on. That's it for big issues. I think we could probably get to some actual...
Mole, you can send your ideas for the Nightmare of Ashihama at oldschoolcommunity@jagex.com.
Yep. !nightmare, taken to the blog, which will tell you where to send it to. Lots of common requests I've seen this week. Gauntlet and Zolcano drop rates. I'm going to say, let's give it to them next week. So we'll get those drop rates and give them to you next week.
Oofed. Exciting.
Qual poll? Do you want to be doing a qual poll?
Qual poll, yeah. So it's sort of that time again where we would like to update
the game.
Well, the game, yeah. I was going to say our list of things that we want to change, but yeah, the game too. We're hoping to have a qual poll relatively soon, so if you want to pitch ideas for quality of life updates, I think !qual will take you to the Reddit thread where we've asked for questions for the stream. Put them there, we'll have a read after the stream and write up a list expecting to have a qual poll hopefully quite soon.
Cool, on to the questions. I'm going to start with Bounty Hunter related questions because it's coming in this week's update. Apologies, I did this last week as well, but the people who asked it, I got rid of their names and I'm really sorry. But if you know you asked it, then that's good. I'm acknowledging you. I'm really sorry. Right, Mod Gambit, could you give us a TLDR of the new Bounty Hunter mechanics, the system?
I can. So in a nutshell, it's a kill streak based system. So it's the same as before where you're matched with a target once you're in the wilderness on a Bounty Hunter world. And if you kill them, then you will have one target kill to your name. Getting a second one then begins a streak whereby you start earning more points. Points will be rewarded on kills rather than by getting the emblems as drops and cashing them in. So more kill streaks, more points. That's the fundamental idea. And then there's also tasks thrown in as well now. So if you kill your target, certain conditions, things like get 2 of them in a row without leaving the dangerous area, or kill them with ranged on the last hit, that kind of thing, then you'll get bonuses to your points. And these are the same points used to buy things from the rewards shop. That's it in a sort of quick nutshell, but yeah, that's how it's going to work.
You also get the stuff for killing your opponent. So it's not just, I know some people are disappointed with the amount of rewards that failed in the poll, but it's not as though that's it. You also get the stuff you kill, you take from your opponent. I was just laughing at all the kind of UAV online, Predator missile inbound type stuff, and the kill streaks. Some more questions about, okay, well,
Just it's going out in a beta tomorrow, and I've seen some questions about how exactly that's going to work. So when it is in beta, the defined period, I don't think there's a defined period for how long the beta is going to be live. It's going to be based on obviously how much feedback you guys have.
as long as it takes.
And as long as it takes. But in the meantime, the regular bounty hunter won't be available. It's sort of been replaced with the beta for now.
Yep.
Just in the meantime until we get it right, based on your feedback. So please do jump in and make sure you get your points across, because we want this to be good. I think I'm quite excited by it. I think it adds some spice to bounty hunter that I think it needed. So
yeah, there's lots of smaller things that just make the minigame better as well that aren't really part of the gameplay or mechanics. So things like an arrow now, which indicates which direction your opponent is in, is a huge one. So you'll still have the little indicator on the interface that tells you which range of the wilderness they're in, sort of which levels. But also an arrow pointing to them will help you track them down a bit more efficiently if they're trying to run away from you, as well as other interface improvements in general. Things like an extended PJ timer. Trying to remember off the top of my head what else we have, but that kind of thing will hopefully improve the general experience of the minigame as well.
Cool. I've got some more questions about Bounty Hunter, mainly like the niche cases around, because obviously there are different stores, lots of different points, emblems and stuff now. So what's going to happen to tier 1 emblems when the Bounty Hunter update hits? Will they be converted to new emblems? Can you sell them back? If so, do you get old points or cash?
Yeah, so obviously we're converting to a new points system, which is hopefully a lot simpler than the one we have now. Your old emblems will transform into, I think we're calling them archaic emblems, so basically an old version, and they'll sort of look old and that. You'll be able to trade those in for points still, and you'll be able to access the old version of the shop to cash those points in for the rewards. But they're asking why I'm coughing, sorry, I've got something in my throat. Yeah, you'll be able to cash those in for the old points, access the old shop until you've used all of those points up. But you won't be getting those anymore, you'll be getting the new ones from the emblem trader if you wish to partake in that part of the minigame. The way emblems will work from now on is essentially they sort of facilitate extra risk and getting more money from your opponents if you want to in Bounty Hunter. So you'll be able to prioritize your targets based on whether or not they have an emblem. So say I want to risk an extra 75k. I buy a tier 1 emblem from the emblem trader, go into the wilderness as per usual, and when I get a target, it will tell me if they have an emblem of an equivalent tier or higher, which would make me eligible for an upgrade if I kill them, or I can skip them if they don't. So I'll then have that choice to seek out higher value targets if I want.
Cool. You did mention about Hunter Shop, and I'm really sorry if you answered this when you talked about the last one, but I kind of zoned out a bit reading a question. What happens to the Bounty Hunter Shop? Will things like the MSB scroll and other upgrade kits be removed from the shop? Will they be added to crates, or will they remain as purchases?
All that stuff will remain on the shop. Both the old shop, and we're going to move the stuff over, recost them in the new points for the new shop as well.
Cool. What will the rewards from Bounty Hunter be, given that the vast majority of a poll failed? I guess what they're trying to say is, are you going to poll new stuff?
So I'd like to look at introducing more stuff in the future. Like we say, we're sort of readdressing introducing PvP content in general. We're not sure what that looks like. In the meantime, rewards you will get are the Bounty Hunter crates that we described in the original poll blog. The design blog, whereby I think they're going to be roughly 100k value each for about 5 points, which will contain just sort of your usual PKing supplies, food, potions, that sort of thing. And the God Sword animation recolors in there as well. But obviously, it's not a very tangible equipment reward. So we would like to get some more of those in at the future. Sorry, sometime in the future.
And lastly, for the bounty hunter questions I've got, but obviously if you have more in the chat at Old School RS, did you get valuable information from the poll question which asked why players voted no to the PvP content in the bounty hunter rewards poll?
Well, that's an interesting one. Yes, I want to say the information has been useful. It's at least been very insightful. We're not quite sure how to apply it just yet, because like I say, we're still having conversations and meetings to talk about PvP in general and the state of it and the health of it. We're not convinced that the poll system really serves the PvP community, given that they're sort of a minority that are frankly at odds with a lot of the other sub-communities. So while we examine that stuff, the stats that came out from that question have been useful, and we're going to sort of include them in the discussion and use them to reason whatever conclusion we make. But more on that sort of as it comes in.
So it was something like 12%, I think. I might be pulling numbers from my head, so I'm very sorry if they're wrong. 12% said they voted no because they don't like PvP flat out. That's not good. That's evidence of, well, self-reported evidence of spite voting. But then there was something like 44%, perhaps higher, saying they didn't feel the rewards were old school enough. So I don't immediately want to, okay, cool, so you're correcting me there, cool. Sorry, apologies for being wrong. But it was much higher for saying they didn't feel like the rewards were old school enough or didn't fit the game. So I don't immediately want to discount that group of players too. So it's probably about those players might be open to PvP updates but need the right stuff. So I think the onus is on us to make sure polling systems fit for purpose for PvPers, but also to make sure we're polling the right content. I guess that's where I'd leave it. We've got lots of league questions, but let's go into general Q&A questions that some of the players might be waiting to hear. When do you plan on addressing grotesque guardians and which changes will you be making? And I look at Mod Husky.
I've seen a lot of things come up from grotesque guardians, and actually quite a few discussions with you, Gambit, about what we want to do with them. The question is, it's really hard to pinpoint it. One of the biggest issues is that there is a lot of dead time with a lot of animations that count to your kill times. And people judge these bosses on, I can get like a 1 minute 10 Vorkath kill, right? But why does grotesque guardians take like 20, 30 seconds longer when it's a low level boss?
Right.
So there is the question of, do we remove some of those animation cycles? Do we rework it a bit? I don't think it's as simple as just reduce the health. And there are a few little quality of life things I would like to do, at least with maybe making some of the areas that those effects hit maybe a little bit nicer to see. We've had for some of the effects. But I think this kind of comes to the community and say, I've seen a lot of suggestions for what we can do, but ultimately anything we do will have to be polled, right? We can't just go and say, here's a rework of the boss, because there are some people that actually might genuinely like doing that boss. I think one of the biggest issues is it was designed for low levels, but it felt like I feel like it's not a problem if high levels destroy it, if I'm being honest, because it is a low level boss.
Yep.
Similar to like how high levels will destroy mole and things like that. So there's a fine line to balance there.
Yeah, I think that's fair. We have been reading your guys' comments on the Grotesque Guardians and Sire, which actually yourself, Mod Husky, you've made some changes. Well, not we haven't made changes to the live game yet, but you're playing around with changes to some of the mechanics and seeing how they might work based on your guys' feedback. So hopefully that'll fix a lot of the issues you guys have seen. With the Guardians, we'd like to do the same, but I think we need some clarification in terms of how exactly we fix them.
I think the main thing is downtime. That's what I've always seen, which isn't entirely straightforward. It will need graphics work to change it and stuff like that, because things are synced with animations. But I think if you reduce health, you make the downtime worse, because it becomes a bigger percentage of the fight. So that's to me where it needs to be looked at.
One of the ideas I was thinking about and playing was maybe you just kill Dawn, she becomes unattackable. You kill Dusk, the other one. There's no transition there. And then maybe there's only one transition later on when they're both at half health before you go to kill her, so at least it removes one of them. There's things I guess we can look at like that, but these are just thoughts on the matter. Yeah. These are not looking into seeing, can we implement it? How does this affect the kill time? How does this affect playing it? Does the community want it and vote for it? Like as you said, I've looked at some of the things with Sire that community has asked for a lot, but they still need to be voted on. Things like the phase transitions and trying to make it register on the hit that you did as opposed to cancelling out your next hit. I mean, I've done a lot of the dev work for that, but we're not just going to throw it into the game. So
yeah, maybe one for the upcoming quality of life poll that we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Cool. Some questions from the chat. Griffin1x asks, Halloween event, when?
I think the release is right in the end of the month, right?
Probably the week before Halloween itself.
24th, 25th?
24th, something like that. Yeah.
Thursday, yeah.
I would guess something like that.
Yeah.
So on a related note, we had the kind of first proper team-wide playtest for the Halloween event so far.
Right.
You developed it, you wrote it. How was the feedback gone so far from the team?
It was pretty good. A lot of small bugs that are easily fixed.
Cool.
So that's nice. It's been really cool, like developing the first project, and now I've had obviously like QA testing it, but now it was the whole team, and there was a lot of new stuff that is really hard to find when you're just sitting yourself playing it over and over again, because you kind of zone in and do it your way over and over again instead of trying to think outside the box when trying to find bugs. So it's been super useful having the whole team testing it.
Any hints or spoilers you want to give about the event itself or its rewards?
See, I don't want to give away too much. Actually, I like the idea of having players play the update instead of kind of knowing what to expect and then just going through it. So I want to kind of keep as much of it secret as possible so that people can enjoy it on release day and actually like physically play the update.
That's a fair point. That's probably one of my biggest gripes. Well, not the biggest gripe, that's an overstatement. It's one of the things I'm not too keen on the poll system for, which is we can't really surprise you anymore, which is a good thing because, I mean, I think there were some big surprises with RS2, for example, and you don't want those repeated. But it means we can't do nice surprises as well.
Yeah,
So
it's a
we
fine
use the
balance between like, okay, what should you poll, what should you spoil or not spoil? We had some issues with the Fremenic quest regarding like the shield and stuff when it comes to polling, and yeah, it's difficult sometimes.
Cool.
Well, I would say I think the Halloween event is sick, so I really enjoyed
It feels very old school.
Yeah.
I actually like laughed out loud during them. Like not just say you type lol, but I actually found myself chuckling at the desk playing through it. The jokes are top notch, and I think you've done a really good job working on it. So
Thanks.
And with a few Easter eggs there for people to try and figure out.
Yeah.
Oh, the rewards are really nice.
Oh, community is going to love you for the rewards.
Yeah, Mod West did a super good job on the reward.
So that's you'll get new rewards worked on by Mod West, but you also, for completing it, you also get the old kind of cosmetic rewards for it, and then you'll get the tradable rewards as well, like the pumpkins and stuff. Moving on, Tyler, so more chat questions, sorry. So Tyler asks, how will the new bounty hunter point system affect how Ironmen farm for their emblems for rune pouches?
They don't have to, right? You can get it from Slayer points now.
So that's how they farm. They'll farm Slayer points.
Yeah, so this has been one of the hotter topics while working out the bounty hunter rework. Yeah, it's a bit of a forehead answer, but you know, if you don't want to do PvP for the rewards, then do the PvM option. Like if that's what your account build is for, then I think the real question here is because for a lot of accounts, the PvM route is now going to be the preferred route. Is 1250 points too high? I would consider bringing that down. That's a talk that we have had internally. We haven't come to a just filled the chat with foreheads.
You asked
Yes,
for
the thing is, the way I feel about this is, yes, 1250 is a lot. There's a lot of things on that shop you now want to buy, and you're going into a more of a debate of, I can't stop blocking things and actually can't skipping tasks because I've got to save up for this and this and this and this and this and this, and that list is getting longer. Every time you want to get a new cosmetic helm, it's another load of points. And you need to get your Slayer helm, you need to get all these other things. So, yeah, it's bulking out that store, so I think it needs to be quite a lot cheaper, especially given it was separate before. Or I'd still be open to something else entirely if we could come up with another source for it as well.
Yeah, I could see it coming down to 750, 1,000.
I'm up for whatever the community wants on this. Like,
one of the other things.
Tide, could we do a straw poll on this?
Yeah.
How much should the
Rune pouch cost in the Slayer
points, and give some ranges like 100 to 300, 300 to 500, that sort of thing.
One thing
just to give us a gauge of what people think.
One thing we could do as well is, it was 24 emblems, I believe, to get it. We could just make it at 24 times the rate of whatever an emblem was from all the Wildy Slayer things, right? It would be a lot rarer. It's still about the same amount of Wildy Slayer, and there's a lot more variance there, obviously, because someone gets really lucky, someone goes really unlucky. That is an option.
Just drop it from Wilderness Slayer?
Yeah, but as like a 24 times whatever the emblem would have been from that thing.
As a rare drop?
It is one of those things, because in that case that drop is like 1 in several thousand for some of these creatures, and anyone who's gone dry on a drop knows that, like...
Or a global Slayer drop table. You got to have something that's not going to be absurdly rare to get and is actually achievable.
What if it drops as a rare chance from Laren's chest? You know?
Game reward shop.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I think the problem with Laren's chest is with them forcing Ironman into the wilderness again.
I mean, that's the problem,
well,
right?
That's the problem,
they're complaining we've removed forcing them into the wilderness because they go Slayer instead.
Yeah,
You're just saying that because you annoyed them last week. We have a straw poll?
Yeah, I'm still on watching.
Sweet. We'll move on whilst Mortide is putting the straw poll together for the rune pouch stuff. The Pages asks, I've had a lot of talk about rejuvenating old content. How does the team feel about putting a few of the games from the Birthwarp Games Room inside of the confines of the GE?
This has come up so many times, and I do really think we should do that. I think it'd be sick to have a couple of tables just at the GE for these games. The problem is, it's not like, oh, let's just go and move that table. The code is awful, and so it's going to take a little bit of a deeper dive into work out what actually needs to be done. But it's just one of those things that's never been at the top of the list. I'd be quite keen to do this as a little.
Would it
as a
be
little
on
nicety.
the ground floor around the main part, or would it be upstairs on the roof?
See, people have debated putting it on the roof, but I actually think it needs to be on the floor, because then people can see it and you can still join into the conversations that are going on around you. Also, I use the roof as my hiding spot for a JMod. So.
All right, okay, so if you scroll up a little bit, Mortide spammed a straw poll. Have a look, have a vote, and then we'll look at the results shortly. More Syrup asks, Kieran hinted at an undiscovered Tecton meta nearly a year ago.
When did I hint at an undiscovered Tecton meta? Nearly a year ago, I suppose. But no, I don't think so. I don't think I did.
Okay, More Syrup, what are you talking about? Tell us in the chat, and then we'll offer a...
No, I don't think there was an undiscovered Tecton meta.
Bronze Warhammers.
Someone says you did, and someone says you were joking.
Maybe that's it. Maybe I joked and everyone's been writing it down since.
Furko says you said that they still weren't doing it properly.
I can't remember.
Were you just kidding, do you reckon?
I can't remember.
Okay.
To be honest. I think the strategies people are using for Tecton are probably the best.
Or there was a meta that
there.
you did remember, and then you've forgotten it.
I can't remember. I can't remember the context of the conversation to really know, but I think people do Tecton pretty well at the minute.
I like to imagine people spending hundreds of hours taking unique items into Tecton trying to figure out what you said, and they just realise they've been trolled.
Before I move on to the other questions, do you remember the Tecton Armor someone posted?
Yes.
I just wanted to bring that up because that looked awesome, and the Vorkav stuff, like they were combining Monster Hunter with RuneScape, really good. That was just something that came to my mind, so I'm going to move on now. Sorry for that little distraction. Is there any update on the too many login attempts issue? The answer is yes, they're working on it. They've got a fix in mind. There's a date soon. In the meantime, the official advice is if you're met with a too many login attempt issue upon login, wait 20 to 30 minutes or so. And I know that's a terrible bit of advice to say, but that's the best thing we can say. Alternatively, if it persists, head to the support center, search for the too many login attempts article, and then you'll be able to contact the support team directly, give them more information about, your account, your connection, other stuff they store, and that will help them help us get to the bottom of the issue and perhaps fix it faster. Next question, can the creation of unfinished Guthix balance potions be automated but slower than manual creation, similar to changes to enchanting jewelry and serum 207 creation? My wrists, thank you in advance.
See, it's interesting you say that, because I know we recently did it for the Serum 204s, is it? Whatever, from the Shades of Morton quest?
I've got 207 here.
207, is that the one? Sorry. Terrible game knowledge. But yeah, so I actually had some people complaining because, it now does it slower than I used to be able to do it, because they could click it really quickly, and we actually took that method away from them. So I don't think it pleases everyone, but we can certainly do it if community want, right?
Okay, if you want it. What are the team's thoughts on potentially adding a mountable burning amulet from trading in, say, 200 to 300 amulets in the wilderness?
Let's
in a
have
similar way?
infinite teleports for everything in the POH.
We've done it for.
I know we have.
But that's the problem, right? So
It's like, where do you draw the line? And the thing is, I feel like with the silver jewelry, that it's intentionally disposable, that you use it and it discards to nothing.
We've already got the obelisk for the PvP obelisk for the POH, right? And I'm trying to think of all the burning amulet locations. I know at least the KBD one has an obelisk right there. So that, yeah. I also don't know where you'd put it. We've got a lot of hotspots taken.
Mounted POH in your POH.
I like it.
Nice.
I do think the kind of POH meta is getting ridiculous. Well, no, it's not getting ridiculous. In my opinion, it is quite ridiculous. But it's almost like we've gotten to this point, add more teleports because there's so many existing ones. But it looks like we don't quite like the idea, so sorry. You're welcome to refine it and we'll consider it again. I've got the results from the straw poll back. Not too conclusive. So we asked, how many Slayer points should the rune pouch cost? 700 plus is the leading vote with 34%, followed by the bracket of 500 to 699 with 28% of your votes, followed by the bracket of 300 to 499 with 12%. Is that some audio issue there from the bottle? Yeah. We offered the possibility of it coming via the global Slayer drop table, and that's 9%, followed by the bracket of 100 to 299 points and 8%, and then the superior drop table with 9%. So it looks like you're in favour of lots of Slayer points. But there isn't too much discrepancy between the results as well, so I'd probably like to, some people saying keep it the same, keep it 1250. I feel like we need to kind of talk about the conversation again, not in this stream, but separately.
There's definitely a problem with it just being 1250 points from Slayer, so.
Cool. Can you make the monsters during the Underground Pass quest cannonable again? They're no longer able to be cannoned after release of Song of the Elves. This restricts 10 HP builds from getting their previous best in slot weapon, a crystal bow.
What needed to be cannonable?
Monsters during Underground Pass is all I can offer you, I'm afraid.
Like the paladins and stuff.
It might have been the case that cannons were blocked from putting down there due to the cutscenes and different combat sequences that now happen in there. So, yeah, if we have a look to see exactly what needs to be cannonable, we might be able to separate certain bits that are absolutely okay. So, ModEd might have a better idea why that was done. So
yeah, I think it is for that battle in Song of the Elves.
That's almost certainly why. So, yeah.
Okay, so we'll revisit that. If that was an established method, then we should probably restore it.
Yeah, we'll investigate.
Cool. So this concerns the Mauritania expansion. What is the purpose of the, I'm going to try and butcher the pronunciation, the day out essence, if it's not faster than current rune crafting methods and won't give extra runes? What's the point, is the player saying?
It was a player suggestion for Prif that never made it for Prif, I believe, to use like crystal essence. And I think the idea was to sort of bring back the idea of mining your essence and making your runes that way. And for like the idea obviously being on tradable essence. I think the idea was to give you more runes or something by doing it yourself.
And the idea is mainly that it'll work out overall to about the same XP as doing regular rune crafting, but you spend a bit more time mining and hence a little bit more AFK.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's a different pacing.
Yeah, so it's a different pacing, but it's not going to sit and replace the high-end methods like Lavas and Zaya, which is still going to be better than this. So I guess this is going to be more like if you want to do double natures, but I don't know the full details myself.
I wish I remembered that design document because it was on Reddit at the time that Prif was coming out and it was very popular with the players, which I guess is why we took it forward. I just wish I had more information about the pros and cons of it.
Yeah, I think Kieran summarised it. It is literally just to change the grind a little bit, make it a little bit more split between mining and rune crafting.
Yeah.
Cool. Another bounty hunter related question from Trigger the Wolf. He says, the Ring of Wealth imbued is needed for a master clue step. How will Ironman get it after the bounty hunter update? This is important.
That does sound important.
I was reading chat. What was the question, sorry?
The Ring of Wealth imbued is needed for a master clue step. How will Ironman get it after the Bounty Hunter update? This is important.
Couldn't we just remove it
How do you get it at the minute?
From the Bounty Hunter store.
Yeah.
I guess thanks for bringing it up. I forgot about that.
Okay,
In
so
fairness-
it looks like the chat are disputing what the person asking the question said.
I'm wondering. I know there's one that's Ring of Wealth. To be honest, it's like I'm assuming that they're probably right and I've forgotten it as opposed to anything else.
Similarly, I think we'll investigate. We'll see if we've kind of created a blocker. If so, we'll resolve it.
Yeah.
If not, carry on. Miss Pride asks, can we see the herb sack added to another reward table so it'd be available for skillers?
That would be pretty nice, to be honest.
Apparently the Ring of Eye is a master clue step.
It is. Confirmed, the Ring of Wealth Eye is a master clue step. So we'll look at that and talk about what we want to do with it.
I mean, Ironman can play the Bounty Hunter minigame and earn points in the new system. It might not be great, but then
Just
for a
get good at
master
PvP,
item, master clue required item, I don't know. We'll investigate that.
I mean,
Maybe it's a bit too harsh to say that, but yeah, it's not like it's unreachable for them.
Yeah, I feel like if we did anything, we'd just make it the regular Ring of Wealth. I don't see what, like, yeah.
But there's other things as well. You've still got items in there that previously were obtainable and now are not really. So I think maybe this needs to be a deeper think about how Ironman get these items. Because, yeah, Ring of Wealth Eye might be required for a clue, but there's still cosmetics in there. There's still overrides for whip colours, MSB Ally. Like, maybe it's not the most useful thing ever, but I don't know how you really actually give access to Ironman for that without causing them to do PvP that they're getting nothing out of.
Yeah, I agree, and I think some people are missing that. The biggest thing is we're taking away something they used to have, right? By making them do that. So one of the updates, one of the things I wish had passed a poll, and I know it failed, would have been Ironman having the ability to, like, if you die to an Ironman, your loot's destroyed, so you just can't come back and run and pick it up. It's the worst thing ever.
Would it be the end of the world for Ironman to still be able to obtain emblems through Slayer, the old ones?
Not.
It's a bit weird, but otherwise it's okay. The thing is, they wouldn't be able to access the new shop that way.
Yeah,
The old
but
shop.
They get
the old shop still would exist and has the same stuff in it. I don't know if it causes a problem with the knock-on effect on the prices of these items and stuff, but because theoretically an Iron Man could come along, do some Slayer and de-iron, but I don't really see that as too big a problem, given there's already a huge amount of them in the game from players who did it on this system
But with
anyway.
the old ones becoming untradeable as well. Oh, apparently it's any Ring of Wealth for the Master Clue step anyway, so we might be okay.
I think this is, but
According to mod type.
this is what I'm saying, right? It's not just the Ring of Wealth. There's a load of other items in that store that they were previously able to get. So I think leaving it. I mean, so I've seen some people say again it's on Slayer, but this is already what it is, right? That's how the Ironmen currently get it, right? You go and do Worldy Slayer and you get emblems to spend points. So leaving it like that and not making it worse might be the best solution. And to be honest, that also solves the rune pouch. It's not a perfect solution because obviously it's a bit of a compromise and a weird one, but
Let's revisit internally rather than spending the next 17 minutes of the Q&A solving the issue. But even though the Ring of Wealth Eye isn't an issue, at least it kind of led to this discussion. I'll go back to normal questions rather than chat questions, but if you do have more questions, I said questions a lot then, at Old School RuneScape and ModTide will collect them for you.
Sorry to jump in. Sorry, Mod Wolf, for leaving you on red just before the stream. I was busy getting ready for the stream. Yes, we can hang out later.
Okay, next question. Adding more worlds has objectively made the wilderness emptier. How does the team feel about barring access to the wilderness from half the worlds, or removing worlds?
I have thought about this as well. Like, what would be the problems if we did that? I mean, I don't think it's going to be something broadly people, non-PvPers would be happy with, because obviously you're going to have to go into worlds with, and more likely to be PK'd. But secondly, I'm not really sure how we handle hopping into these worlds. If you're in the wilderness, do we just prevent you from logging into those worlds? I guess you'd have to. So you could probably do it, but I'm not sure it's going to be a good thing overall for people to want.
So we aren't seeing the same number of players that came with mobile's release, which is why we brought in tons more worlds. Are we averse to removing some now? I know some people are going to say, but then I'm going to be fighting for spots to do my Slayer task and fighting for bosses. But that's more of a return to how Old School was,
Yeah.
rather than saying, there's only 200, 300 people in the world.
I'd rather remove worlds
Than add arbitrary restrictions.
than
on
add
worlds and
arbitrary
not.
restrictions to certain locations. And also, it's good for the world to feel alive. I've said before as well, when you think about the problems about overcrowding, hopping worlds isn't fun anyway. That is not a good solution.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can implement a system that helps you to know which worlds have empty locations, yeah, hopping's a good idea. But it might be better to add more locations for monsters as well. Yeah, anyway, I think there's definitely another debate here about what we can do.
Cool. So this has been talked about a lot in Q&As, but we should probably start offering more of a defined timeline, or say whether we will proceed with it. When will you make changes to the Winter Todd? Unless you're doing it on a 10 HP account, it's frustrating to play. I think internally we settled on the warmth system rather than HP system, but now it's a matter of doing it.
Yeah, I think so.
Polling it, obviously. And doing
Polling it and doing it.
Yeah.
So sort of you replace your HP with a warmth meter that's filled up by eating, sort of thing.
Yeah. My opinion on this one is, yes, it's weird to be more punishing for players with more HP, and I don't know if that was intended or not. I suspect not, but I wasn't around. However, the Winter Todd is very powerful, regardless of what HP you're at, and it's not so bad. Even if you're already at 99 health, you can still train there quite reasonably for really good HP.
This is not to say it's a problem for people at 99 health. It's the problem that people that go at 10 health can have it easy. So I don't think anyone wants it to be easier at the higher levels. I mean, it would probably change a little bit, but
Yeah.
but yeah, it's more that lower levels just get an easy pass and try to come up with something that works that out, despite the fact that you only have 10 HP.
I personally think it's fine. Like it's
It doesn't need I
it's
don't think it's the end of the world.
People do it,
Yeah.
and so do we need to change it? If we have like thousands of people engaging with it very regularly, even though it is as it is, do we need to change it? So maybe instead of saying, okay, we're going to poll a warmth system, perhaps this is more suited for the existing game content survey and opinion poll that we're going to publish soon, which would be the choice.
Is it worth the time? Because a warmth system isn't actually a trivial change to it.
Do we start developing group Ironman to fix Winter Todd?
Well, this is always the debate you're playing, right? What are you giving up to have this? And adding an interface bar of warmth meters and a new system to tie it into is not going to be an hour of work. It's going to be days.
Yeah, a player's made a good point there, which is the Winter Todd is very active, and that's a really good sign of whether or not the content is worth doing. There's constantly people at Winter Todd, so maybe we should focus more on content where there aren't so many players these days instead. But yeah, hopefully this is the kind of thing that will be resolved once we've got the opinion polls running, the ones where we're asking which things we need to prioritise based on what you guys think is the most important.
Yeah, so in terms of the greening approach, perhaps it's not the case that we add the warmth system to the next poll, but this is one for the opinion poll, which you'll be able to tell us what kind of existing content you want us to focus on next. Okay, would it be possible to change the lunar equipment, and especially the staff, so that it's not lost upon death 100% of the time? The mechanic is so much different to all other items in the game and can be frustrating, especially at a relatively safe boss like Zulrah. So, for context, the player would bring a lunar staff to use the fairy ring, then they'd lose it when they died, unlike a drama staff.
That's weird.
It is weird. And I know the argument is get good, don't die, but we should probably bring it in line with drama stuff. Like if this is meant to be...
It doesn't need to be lost on death all the time. I don't know why it is.
That's unnecessary.
So that sounds like an oversight.
Change that.
Yeah.
It's surely just a bit of inconsistency because the thing was created to be a quest item, and it's not broadly out of line that a quest item would delete itself on death and you have to go and re-obtain it. But
it's just a fashion scape upgrade to the...
It's more than just a quest item. It's got use outside of the quest.
Cool. I've got some leagues-related questions because the poll going live on Friday, as I mentioned earlier. Before that, I've got a bit of a meme question. You know, there's always got to be one.
Uh-oh.
Can we poll renaming some pets to give them good names as Smolcano? Examples are Lil Susaroff, I don't know if I pronounced that right, Weara, Specific Grador, Commander Liliana, Petion, and Scorpling.
Petion, I'm a big fan of.
I like Scorpling.
What was specific Grad? I don't get that.
As opposed to general Grador. So rather than being general,
Oh
you're
my
being quite
God.
specific.
Oh, right.
I'd probably want to find a better one than that. This is community driven, by the way, not my idea.
If you vote for it, you can have it. It ain't going to be toggleable. So.
Okay, leagues questions. Why aren't we polling leagues? Valid question. I think the consensus we've reached is, whilst it is a new game mode, similar to, say, the likes of Ironman, which we did poll, and Group Ironman, which we will poll, it's not an addition to Old School RuneScape, it's like an alternative version of. Towards the end of Deadman, we didn't poll the variations on seasonals, so we aren't going to poll leagues. However, we will poll anything that will affect the main game of Old School, like the main game rewards, which the poll goes live for on Friday. Now some questions about the mechanics of it. So what is the pacing for the relics supposed to be? Do you expect people to have all relics after a single day, or not all relics until like a month in?
So this is the thing that's really hard to say right now, because we've got to look at what tasks can you do at the start, how many points do they give. We obviously want to reward more points for higher level tasks. How easy are they to get at early and try and figure out metas? That's essentially the next job we're at now, and working through that. I think as a general rule of thumb, I'd like to say someone who's playing quite casually, say, maybe an hour, maybe 2 a day, will quite comfortably get to the point of having 4, if not all 5 relics within their first maybe 2 weeks to 4 weeks of gameplay. That's a very general thing to say. But what that does mean is that if you're playing like 20 hours a day, no lifing leagues, you're probably going to get these relics quite quickly, is the honest truth. We kind of want people to have the power-ups earlier on. And then let people have fun playing. There's no point spending 2 months getting your 5th relic only for the league to close in a few days, right? I saw a couple of questions, only 5 relics. Yes, there's 15 relics. You get 5 selections of 3 relics. And once you pick one, you can't pick anything else from that. You wait till the next one's unlocked. So the 3 in the blog we gave for the ammo saving, the prayer one, and the endless endurance one, that's the first 3. You select that, and then that's the choice, right? You wait until you see what you get at the second selection.
So 5 tiers, 3 choices in each tier.
Yeah, the idea is that they're probably going to be a bit more powerful than the others. It's sometimes hard to judge the power because it depends on what you're doing and your activity, right? But the idea is that they are scaling more powerful, each one.
Cool. So the next question is about the Dark Altar Devotion relic, which automatically buries bones for 4 times experience. Will it affect the prayer restore return in Catacombs? And how will it work with the base 3 times XP multiplier?
Cool. So assuming it's a 3 times base XP multiplier for the league, which we are still debating whether it should be higher, the 4 times would stack with that, so you'd end up getting 12 times prayer for that. And then if there's any other modifications that come from that, you'll obviously get that. The idea is that this is as powerful as using it in a Gilded Altar, but doing it 0 time. It will not affect the number of prayer points you get back. However, we are thinking about doing a little rebalance shuffle and moving the half prayer drain rate from the run relic to that relic. So it does feel like this one's helping you make more out of your prayer and get higher prayer, whereas the other one is the convenience of moving around, because they kind of overlap a little bit in their functionality.
Okay.
Just for context, I saw one player asking in the chat, what are relics? Are you able to give a quick rundown of what they are and how they work in the leagues?
Sure. So you start off in leagues in the world, and you get a choice of 3 relics, which are essentially these sort of permanent buffs that will affect you for the entire league. You get a choice. And this idea is that you get to pick which one will suit the activities that you're doing. These leagues will also have tasks. So you will then use these, like from these relics, maybe you decide which tasks you're going to do. For example, if you pick a prayer, well, maybe there's tasks related to prayer, so you end up doing that, right? Anyway, after completing tasks, you get points, and at a certain point threshold, you'll get another selection of 3. And that will continue going on for the more points, 3rd selection, more points, 4th selection, etc., up until the final 5th selection. But yeah, they are supposed to be game-changing things that will affect your game mode. For example, one of them is Endless Run. As we said, that's pretty game-changing, not having to train agility, especially in a continent like Zaya, that's pretty good. The other one was save 80% of ammunition and runes up against that, which people go, oh, is that good? Well, yeah, because you're getting almost your runes from shops. So you're competing with other people, even if they are accelerated shop rates, it's still a competition and it's money sink, right? There's a lot of considerations and it depends on your playstyle. for example, if you're doing a lot of Slayer or a lot of skilling, sitting, fishing, maybe and not moving, run energy's not doing you anything, right?
Yeah.
So
It'll be interesting to see what synergies people pick out in terms of the tasks that they plan to do and how that affects the relics that they choose. And then maybe 2 relics combine in a particular way that changes the kinds of tasks that you're great at doing. So,
absolutely.
good to see.
One of the things with the relics as well is some of them are catered to different playstyles entirely.
Yeah.
If you're the person who likes to AFK a lot, there are some relics which are fantastic for that. If you're actively playing and being quite click intensive, you can take advantage of some of the other ones.
Yeah, I think that's a huge point. Like with relics, it's more. I see them more as something you pick depending on your playstyle, right? So if you really enjoy skilling or Slayer or the harder type of boss fights, then I think you can really cater this league's relics to your playstyle, which is really nice.
Yeah, and some of them affect specific activities as well. So if you say, I want to do a lot of that thing, you probably pick that relic, right?
Yeah.
I saw somebody ask the question in the chat, asking, when it comes to the second choice, can I choose one of the first relics? No, you won't be able to. So each choice of 3, you have to choose one of those 3 specifically. You cannot go back and pick an old one. We want those choices to be really important and have a lot of, it's such a key point in your league account. And I'm really hoping that proves to be quite a difficult choice. Like, I think there's a lot of skepticism about whether there'd just be one that stands out as the best. And when it's come to what we've designed, I'm actually thinking they really are. They really are quite difficult to choose between. And I think that's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome to see how people react in those different situations based on what they want.
So let's wrap up league stuff there, because I know a lot of players are eager for more general old school related stuff. There'll be a poll live on Friday. There'll be more blogs coming. The full release is November 14th. We'll keep you informed about leagues, probably in more dedicated live streams. So those of you who are interested in old school rather than leagues, you'll get all the old school questions. Can we get a partial refund, buy 100 charges or something similar to the scythe, for shards from the Blade of Seldor, seeing as it's the only tradable equipment piece that uses charges? Stumped you.
A partial refund. What, for
your shards. I guess.
Sure.
I'm not opposed to it. I'd be keen to ask mods Lenny and Ed, who are part of the design for that, to know what their design choice was for not. Maybe they had a very specific reason that we haven't considered. I'm not opposed to it.
We already buffed it considerably, didn't we, by increasing the cap of shards that you can have on it from, I can't remember what it was initially, but now something huge like 20k, right?
We did similar before, like letting you sell back your void pieces and stuff for partial refunds. So it's not out of the question, I don't think. But
Okay, well, we'll consult the devs who worked on the project to see if they had any reasoning, and then we'll revisit it. Quite a general question now. How is making changes to new player experiences going? We introduced the Adventure Pass recently. We talked about introducing low-level agility to free players. How's the progress?
So we've spent quite a little bit of time when it comes to Adventure Paths, and we've had it live briefly for an analysis and testing, and it actually looks to have made a reasonable impact on certain players in a positive way. Like, it's actually quite helped to introduce them to the game. They've stuck around longer than other players who would just quit at that point. So we got more tests to do and other ideas as well. It's just taking a bit of a backseat at the minute as we've been focusing on other projects like leagues and thinking about the Mauritania update and everything else as well. So we'll probably be moving forward a bit with that later this year.
Cool. Sounds good. So we're coming close to the end of the Q&A. I want to revisit these kind of announcements and statements at the start. We've also got some cool artwork to show off. If Modshed could do that for us, please.
You've changed your order now.
Sorry. In terms of unanswered questions, I know there's quite a lot on across all the platforms we've asked for. What I think we're going to get in the habit of doing is anything we don't ask on the stream and we don't want to keep for the next stream, we will just answer on the platform itself. So if you've asked a question on Reddit, we'll answer it on Reddit. Make sure you get the answers you need. Okay, so we have got some, well, Gambit, you've got these together. Do you want to give us some context for what they are? There's your notes.
I did, yeah, so cool. So a few of you will know, if you're active on social, things like Twitter and Reddit, you'll notice that we are in the month of Inktober for any budding fan artists or well-established ones. The idea is a list was drawn up at the beginning of the month with a word for each day, and anyone who wants to take part can post a drawing using that word as a theme. And we have some drawings from its. Do we have them ready to show? Are they on my? Do I need the clicker for it? Mod shared. Oh, here we go. So these are from Iron Lowlife, at Iron Lowlife on Twitter, also known as Scape Artist. So this one was for the word melee, and it sort of speaks for itself, really. I think it looks freaking awesome.
It does, yeah. If you want validation, it looks great. It really looks really good. Give the person a follow. Definitely deserves it. Do we have any more from that artist?
We do. We have
Okay.
one. They did another one. So this was day 12, the word melee. On day 14, we had the word NPC. Do we have any guesses on the sofa or even in the chat which NPC they chose?
Neve.
Sandwich Lady,
Lady.
Bob. Okay,
They chose Neve.
Kieran nailed it.
Obvious, mate.
I thought this
Obvious.
cartoon was pretty good as well.
Oh God.
But yeah, so if you're interested in drawing at all and getting involved in Inktober, make sure to do it and post your stuff on Reddit and Twitter. Otherwise, check out the people who are taking part and support them at Iron Lowlife on Twitter for these two. Yeah, just wanted to show those off.
Cool, thank you very much. Okay, so I've run through all the announcements again. You might notice it's a Tuesday Q&A rather than a Wednesday Q&A. That's because a lot of us are out of the office tomorrow. And same thing's going to happen next week, so join us next Tuesday for the next Q&A. We're still collating suggestions for Nightmare Ashihama rewards, !Nightmare, to be taken to the Reveals blog. If you do have ideas for rewards, and we've got tons already, some good, some not so good, send them to oldschoolcommunity@jagex.com. Deadline is this Friday, but realistically, if you ever have any good ideas, we're going to consider them. So keep any ideas coming to that mailbox. Specifically, we want some for the Nightmare Ashihama Awards, but if you have like good ideas generally, please give them to us. We need them. The League's rewards poll goes live on Friday. !Leagues to see what's going to be polled in the blog. This week's game update is the Bounty Hunter beta rework. That's live on Thursday on Beta Worlds. There are lots of merchandise to buy. Some of it is on the table, others are on the website. !Merch to see the website. We talked about third-party clients, account security, and dev mechanics, so I'll quickly give you a run through there. So third-party clients, we published a statement that raised a lot of questions, so we're going to answer those questions with another statement, probably published this week, pending on internal feedback. Lots of internal feedback to get through, but what we really want to do is offer more clarity on individual features. So what we're trying to do is solve the issue of overpowered features. We're going to tell you how we're going to solve that, what are overpowered features, and that's a kind of separate issue to what we do with our own client, and we're still exploring options for that, some really exciting options. Account security, so we as a team have seen drafts of the blog. This blog will tell you why it's taken so long to get the blog out, what they've been working on in the meantime, what they're going to be working on, what features you can expect to see, and when you can expect to see the account security features. Dev mechanics, so lots of chatter about dev mechanics. We've mentioned a few times now that we want to put an opinion poll out, which will offer, well, it's going to be a way to gauge this, what you consider your biggest priority, whether it's stuff like dev mechanics, drop table rebalancing, specific pieces of old content. So based on those results, we may prioritize dev mechanics, we may not. Esports Deadman PvP, so obviously Deadman was put on kind of hiatus whilst we refined it, which is what the head of esports is doing, working on a comprehensive strategy for 2020, 21, 22, etc. We know it sucks having to wait, but we were stumbling from event to event. You know, you're calling us out rightfully because we weren't giving it the time it needed. So this hiatus is about making sure it gets the right time. I know some people have said just bring back Deadman as it is until we've done that, but that's not the point because it still takes dev time. It's better for us and Mod Rogue to work on something great, and then we can introduce that, and you've got a clear roadmap of what's going to await you in the years to come, rather than us doing crap event after crap event. PvP generally, we know it's a big issue. We're still trying to work out what the right thing to do is. In the meantime, we're working with various groups of players on cool content pitches, and then separately from that, we're talking about polling it generally. So what we're going to keep on doing is giving you an update on all these core issues, so third-party clients, account security, PvP, even if we don't have too much to update you on, just to kind of keep you informed as to where we are with it. I think that's it from me. Anything else from anyone on the sofa?
Not from me.
Fix PvP.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you again next Tuesday, not next Wednesday, next Tuesday. Thank you, bye-bye.
Bye.